Was that day?
I'm thinking you're talking before spring break.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Boy, that's a long time ago.
A lot of film study.
Let me rack my brain a little bit. We did some good things overall. We from a procedure standpoint, with an emphasis on moving faster and getting lined up quicker. We just have to be more consistent with it. So overall, I liked our team approach. They've responded to what we've asked them to do with a lot of things. We just need to be consistent and make sure we execute in all our situations.
Where's Gilliam now at offensive tackle? Looks like he's running
doing a
with the
good job.
a little bit.
Sure, he's he brings an experience and a knowledge and an intensity that's part of the offensive line mentality that we like, and he's been a solid mainstay there, and I like what he's brought to the table.
Overall, are you happy with what you've seen from during spring practice? I mean, I know it's a different animal how you play. You have a couple of weeks and you have a week off and then come back. But
I don't think you're ever happy with what you see in spring practice. There's always tons of room for improvement. Again, we're obviously a very young group with a lot of guys going. As Coach Jones had mentioned, about 50% of the team is going through spring practice for the first time. So there is a lot of improvement, but there's a lot of room to grow.
How about both those tight ends, Hum and Wolf? What have you seen from them so far?
I'm excited about them. Those guys both bring a level of athleticism that you want at the tight end position. They adjust to the ball. They have good hands. Where I was surprised, what I didn't expect was them to come in and be as physical as they are. Still inexperienced, but they'll stick their face in the fan and they'll get after a little bit.
Injuries to Downs and Brandis, obviously not ideal, but that obviously creates opportunities for them. Just how big is it for them to get those early reps?
Those reps are invaluable, absolutely invaluable. And again, those guys are both very smart guys and approach the game the way you want it to be approached. And I think in the long run, both those guys are going to be outstanding players.
Coach Bajakian, what are you looking forward to the most from scrimmage 1 to this scrimmage on Saturday?
Just growth, progress, improvement, really as much as from scrimmage 1 to scrimmage 2. We're looking for that on a daily basis. So,
I guess one of the biggest things, there were a couple of crucial turnovers in scrimmage 1. What have you seen to eliminate those over these couple practices back?
Frankly, I've not done a good enough job. We had a turnover today in a red zone period, and we can't have those mistakes in critical situations, down tight, we're going in. That could change a game, and I didn't like that. That was one thing I did not like from the scrimmage, and one thing we still need to improve upon.
Is that maybe a byproduct of some guys pressing or pushing for playing time, some of those mistakes?
I think it's part of it is shuffling a lot of guys in a lot of different spots. Hard to develop a chemistry in a lot of ways, and just again part of the growth process.
Is that maybe more in some ways what spring can be about, though? There's some things that you can, not that you ever want to see mistakes, but shuffling guys in and out, working to find continuity. Is that, I guess, more acceptable in the spring?
I wouldn't say acceptable, but I do. You're on the right track. It's
tolerable?
something expected, not tolerated, but expected. I know we're going to make mistakes. It's spring ball, and you got 9 new offensive players who are here for the first time, and a bunch more who are participating in spring for the first time. So I know there's going to be mistakes, but again, I want to see more growth from practice to practice, more growth from day to day, more consistency in performance, and more consistency in protecting the football.
Josh Malone was singled out by Butch Jones after the last practice. What has his evolution been like over these first 7 practices?
He's learning how to practice, learning what it means to be in good enough condition from a wide receiver standpoint to practice at the tempo and the effort level that we want to practice. And at first, his execution was poor. He was making mental errors, and his effort was poor.
Is that the most physically demanding position in your offense?
From a cardiovascular standpoint, absolutely. And I want to clarify, it was poor in the beginning, and Josh has improved every day. And last practice, he was able to make plays with the ball in his hands, make people miss, break tackles, made some nice catches. So, again, that's the kind of growth I'm looking for.
Mike, I'm sure you already got asked, but in terms of any separation there at the quarterback position, has there been any, or is it still a big lump there?
Exactly.
Is it realistic to think you'll go through this entire spring camp with 0 separation and kind of?
I hope not 0, but everyone has flashed. The word we keep emphasizing is consistency. We don't have the consistency we want, frankly, at any position, but particularly at the quarterback position. We'll get there. I mean, those guys, I like their approach. They work hard. but we just have to have a consistency in performance that's acceptable when it comes to the position that's managing the offense.
Mike, those guys, so many of those guys bring different things to the table, the quarterbacks. How do you evaluate them in what you want this team to do in the fall based on what you're seeing in the spring and from a consistency point of view, and the fact that they can do so many different things?
Well, they just need to manage the offense. I don't think there's a ton of difference in their skill set. It's not like one is a phenomenal passer and one's a phenomenal athlete. They're all good passers and they're all good athletes, and they just have to do what we're asking them to do and take care of the football, keep the offense in manageable down and distance, and manage the offense.
There's so many new players, and you talked about Josh and maybe his practice habits a little bit. Do you find yourself dealing with stuff like that more during spring practice than you'd like to, because you've got so many new guys coming in and maybe haven't practiced at this level?
It's part of spring and part of the adjustment for those newcomers that joined us at mid-year. But you're right, it is expected.
Some of that rotating and so many guys in and out, is that, not to make any excuses for anyone, but does that make it tougher on the quarterbacks? I mean, is the person who's got the ball in their hands every play, does it make it tougher for them?
Well, the pass game's all about timing and spacing, and you have to be able to adjust at the quarterback position. That's the bottom line. And I don't think there shouldn't be that vast a difference when it comes to the different personnel. If we're executing the offense the way we want to execute, it shouldn't really matter who's in there.
A lot of these newcomers already have pretty big roles in this offense. Is that something that we're kind of expecting from signing day on, or is it surprised you how quickly they're getting big roles?
No, it was part of the expectation from the whole recruiting process, and it's just been verification in practice to see what they can do.
How hard is it for you as a coach to manage splitting reps between four guys as the install gets greater and greater?
It's very tough. It's very tough. It's a hard thing to do.
Yeah.
It causes us, besides managing the reps with the quarterbacks, it's also having so many new faces. We've been working on some different things and having a different approach and tapered the install a little bit.
Have you ever been through this before as a coach where you have this many, 4 quarterbacks and then, new receivers, new running backs at that, the sheer numbers wise?
Not quite. Not quite.